Hey, I'm here with Charles Singleton. Welcome to the Sun Legend Ideas Podcast.
Yeah, pleasure
He
to be
is, yeah, great to have you. He is a cybersecurity leader, great friend, and mentor. Again, welcome. Very excited to have you here.
here. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to be here. We have a really good working relationship, and I just continue to keep growing that. And happy to be here and talk about some interesting topics today.
Yeah, so today our conversation is going to be around quantum and AI and how it's changing life, how it's
Yeah,
changing the universe.
right. It is the
So,
universe.
yeah. So, so why don't you get us started? Where do you want to go?
Yeah. I think it's going to be a conversation that it does seem very tech heavy, but it's just going to have so much influence on our day to day lives, and we already see some influences, in current times. So I think it's just going to be an important topic as it becomes more prevalent in society. And I think I have an interesting perspective working in cybersecurity, which is a very broad, industry to work in, as you know. And I am, full disclosure and candid in being candid, I am on more of the sales and consulting side of it. But on that side, we get to see and discuss and consult on the business impact that technologies have when it comes to, specifically in the realm of cybersecurity, but just thinking about the broader implications of AI and quantum. These are things that are going to affect every industry. So I just think it's important to, be able to open dialogue, ask the tough questions, be open to, discussing, admitting things we don't know or can't confirm, and just work on it. And ultimately, let's. I'm pro-human, so let's try to make it better for humanity. So that's
For
where I'm
sure.
at with it.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, so with quantum, for example,
Yep.
and how it's going to influence cybersecurity, I know that a lot of the data that's out there today is getting encrypted with algorithms that are
Right.
going to be crackable by quantum computers in the future. So a lot of companies are already preparing for that by re-encrypting their data with quantum safe algorithms or quantum or algorithms that have mathematically been proven to
Yep.
be safe according to the theory, of course. And there is some experience around the world with programming quantum computers, but it's nowhere near the so the world's collective experience is nowhere near the point where it's going to be. So a lot of it is up in the air right now.
Right, right. Yeah, as it relates there, I think it's just like if you zoom out, it's like the bar just keeps getting raised, because if you look way back, and I'm not coming at this from I'm not like a historian per se, but just generally speaking, if you look back like to tribal days or to, the Stone Age or something, the need for security has always been there. Of course, at that point, there were no computer networks and things of that nature, but you had to secure the perimeter. Once we went from nomadic to, a little more settled lifestyle, humans, we developed what stones, and a group of tribesmen would, look at the perimeter, and then as that was okay, for a certain period of time. But then, one tribe probably advanced their weapons, and now they got spears, and so you just fast forward that through time, and I just think like when we're looking at just where technology is now, yeah, there's a standard of encryption that is deemed to be pretty secure, for the time being. But once that bar gets raised with you know uh, I guess how it could be supercharged with quantum computing. It's on the other side. There will be a response and a defense to it. But the working out the how and the actual the tangible aspect of like how you're going to do that definitely will be a challenge. But yeah, I think it's just the bar continuing to be raised. But there are also, of course, other issues to kind of work through, because you have to, with any malicious effort. I mean, it comes from intent. You know what I mean? So yeah, the technology can be there, but if and that's why I say like there's a broader scope to work on because if you can use what quantum um, and AI and just any technology, if you can use it to better humanity, there will be less societally stressful situations where people will be motivated to do malicious acts and things of that nature. I'm not naive. I don't think like just that aspect where will completely just disappear overnight or something like that. But yeah, I think like that's why it's so important to uh, be ethically responsible with what we do with the technology. And
For
I
sure.
think I think maybe too, like for I know there are people listening. We're just assuming kind of that everyone knows what quantum is and all of that. So maybe we should kind of kick some thoughts back on at least our understanding on it. And
For sure.
and again, just like we technology is a big space. I'm not gonna just present it like I'm some big expert on it, but just from my exposure and personal kind of readings and studying into it that I've done, I'll share my thoughts and I'd love to hear yours, man.
Yeah. You gonna go? You wanna go first?
I
I
think
gotta go first.
yeah, I'll kick it back to you, man. So
All right.
as you see, and even if you want to break it up, because I think like sometimes we kind of lump terms together, quantum and AI. But what is your understanding of what quantum is, what it means, and also what AI or artificial intelligence? What do those two terms mean for you?
So, for me, quantum computing, or just the quantum realm in general, is the particles under. It's the understanding of the particles under the atom, and I know that there are a variety of particles down there, and that there's a whole modeling system for all of these particles. And quantum computing is essentially leveraging our understanding of these subatomic particles to execute new capabilities in terms of computing power. Because by leveraging information gleaned from this subatomic realm, we can do different kinds of computations and calculations that weren't possible based on classical, or that, yeah, well, weren't possible based on classical computing,
Right,
which is based on zeros and ones.
right,
And this is a difficult question, and I'm just going to share my experience of what I know and what I've studied too. But in classical computing, you have zeros and ones. So you have the ability to read out information that is stored on a device based on, so imagine a giant grid, and each grid either has a value of 0 and 1. And when you add these grids in different ways, you build them up to words, and you build them up to numbers, and you build them up to metrics that your computer eventually turns into graphics and into things that you can see.
yeah,
So it's information going all the way up. With quantum computing, you're able to store zeros, ones, and a combination of both zeros and ones.
right,
And these combinations of zeros and ones change depending on the current state, but depending on how you influence it. So I think that's the art of quantum computing, learning how to influence that 0 and 1. And just to connect it to the idea of entanglement, it's possible that one particle in a completely different space is identical. The state of one particle in a completely different space is identical to the state of another particle in a completely different space. So by looking at one particle, you can see the state of the second particle. So that's the notion of quantum entanglement. And it's how do you leverage that to solve certain kinds of problems. And for example, with quantum computing, one of the things that it unlocks is molecular simulation. Right. So what can we extrapolate from simulating molecules in a way that helps us improve our health? So instead of having to do trials, very expensive trials, we have a more high fidelity model
Right.
for creating things and designing things without having to go through all the rigorous implementation and testing. But of course, it's going to vary on each case, and I'm no expert on this, but
Right. Right.
it's going to enable just a whole new set of
Yeah.
capabilities, especially with computers. And I think we could save AI for later. I think we should stay
No,
in
yeah.
quantum for now because it's so big.
That's kind of what I was thinking as well. And you touched and I think elaborated on some points very nicely that I probably wouldn't have been able to do like you, but just to kind of add my spin
You're
to it.
humble.
I like the way that you did start with the binary aspect of like classical computing, and I feel like that technology is something that evolves. So it's like that's a part that as humans we had to experience because when you look at binary, the zeros and ones, it's yes no, on off. It's very rigid, and I think it also kind of, if you think about it, it kind of reflects how there's different societies and different viewpoints across the world, but it kind of reflects how we used to look at the world too. We looked at evil and good, and as we've evolved, there's these gray areas, and more being more accepting of different cultures and different ideas. And when that goes into when you relate that to technology, when you really think about it, it's almost like it goes from like how like we first had the like radio, and then we went to like black and white TV, and just like still frames that were kind of moving, no sound, and then bam, we got color 3D animation, and it just everything just opens up. So it's almost like you go from that binary kind of classical computing, and to quantum. To me is almost like you're tapping into the computational power of the actual, like, the universe itself. You know what I mean? Like how the deeper we zoom into like the molecular world, and I'm not a physicist, I'm not a molecular scientist or anything like that, but again, and that's another beautiful thing about technology. Like we can go on YouTube, we have access to reports, scientific journals that just the average person, even if or if you work in a field and it's not your expertise, but you're interested in it, we have the ability to readily look into these things. But yeah, I think it just opens up the computational power of the universe itself. But it's very humbling because often sometimes I kind of run across conversations where as humans we kind of get a little arrogant and think because and it's always, I use the word, like, we think we have an understanding of something because we haven't shown, like, even if you use the scientific method, like you just haven't seen an example that disproves it, right? So like the more we kind of get an understanding of what quantum can do and the power behind it, we have to humble ourselves and remember that no matter what mysteries we unlock from the universe or from technology, the science behind it was already here. So that's a key distinction, I feel like, because we can leverage our understanding of the universe to create, but those fundamental aspects, they were already here before us. The stars and gravity and whatever the rules of our universe are, we didn't invent those, we didn't create those, and that might get off to a whole nother discussion on where I don't want to make this like a belief or a religious kind of discussion, but I think we do have to humble ourselves, and then we already, I think, have exposure to a quantum computer right here, like in our brains, like this. It Because we have to remember our brains takes all the inputs around us and actually kind of simplifies it. As complex as the world looks and appears to be, it kind of simplifies it so we can interact in it. So it's, I don't know, like if we were a different species, this world might look totally different. If I'm in your head, it might look totally different. But I'm kind of on a tangent, but I guess kind of relating it back to what we're talking about today. I just think it's gonna give us the ability to have immense power But power, for the sake of power, I mean, what is that? You have to kind of point it in the right direction. So we have to make sure that we, are responsible with it. And the
I
data,
think,
as you know, you like with programming anything technologically related, the data has to be viable, has to be, good data, because you can also have bad data, and things can kind of run awry. So
yeah, cleaning up the data is so important. I mean, you need good data, and you need good models too.
yeah,
And I mean, we base that on our human experience and everything that we've seen scientifically. And I think technology is great. Let's say quantum computers enable us to live another 100 years. Hey, I think that's wonderful. But I think at the end of the day, what's most important is maintaining a good ethics throughout the world. Just being able to be peaceful people, to be kind people, to create good things, and to try to make the experience as good as possible for as many beings as possible, I think is the most essential thing. And, as we continue to gain more power, what doesn't change is the nature of the basic fundamental human nature of human experience. I think that if you read books from the Roman ages or from the Greek ages, or if you translate some hieroglyphics, I think at the end of the day, you come across an experience that is very, very similar. People have their families, people love each other, there are wars, there are disputes, there is, the beauties of everyday life. It's everywhere. It's happened in every single generation, and I don't think a new technology is going to change that. So
right.
I think we need to be guided by ethics, and I think that there are a lot of people that aren't guided by ethics in the world today, and that it's going to be important for people to guide each other towards better ethics and better outcomes. And I'm no expert on ethics. I know it's a very complex problem, and there are very many nuances to many situations, but we should always strive to be as good as possible, in my
yeah.
opinion.
I think there's some common parameters. You probably could, and we don't have to get into details of what we personally think those are, but just some common parameters on what decency is. But I think where the world is today, everyone's opinion has a space. You know what I mean? There's a blog, there's a community, there's a Discord, there's a something kind of for everyone's thinking. But in that, I have an abundant mentality, so I feel like there is space for everything with respect for others. And I'm always big on I don't have to, just because I believe something and I could disagree with something, but it doesn't mean I think any less of another person, or
Agreed.
I don't have their experience and things of that nature. But there is a common decency of like certain things: food, clothing, shelter, right? Like, I want to eat, you want to eat, you know what I mean? So I think there are some common things we can definitely make sure that we um, ensure that are fair. But I think one thing that, well, one of many things that will be a challenge is, as the computing power and decision making power, the modeling that quantum will enable us to, from what I'm reading and researching, being able to solve complex kind of problems and scenarios that even the strongest supercomputers now might take years to solve. From things I've seen, quantum will change that to where minutes, seconds.
So what do you think? What do you think should be solved? Like, okay, like give me three things that you want to be solved. Like, give me three wish on your wish list.
Yeah, we just I think, yeah, and this is cool because I didn't come in here knowing that this was going to be a question, but my gears are turning. So the first three things that come to my mind: population modeling, like kind of forecasting what that looks like as we've come out of the industrial revolution, agricultural. I don't know if that's a revolution, but all these different eras that we've lived in to where it was beneficial to have these big families, and you love them, but you need laborers and they kind of produce. But now there's it's not the norm in society for people to have as big of families. So you have a population that, for on average, is kind of living longer, but there's not this, like, come after the baby boomer generation. There's not the same amount of people being born and coming behind it. So kind of modeling what that looks like as the world continues to progress, and maybe technology can offset that. I don't know, but that again, that's something that maybe a computer can model. Global warming, global cooling. I mean, again, I know that could be, and I'm not even talking about the political issue aspect of it, because people kind of make that a political thing. But I'm kind of one person that I'm honestly not a big political person. I kind of go with the ideas that resonate with me, and I don't care like where they come from per se. But yeah, it's going to be important, because what I do believe is that with all of the fossil fuels we burn, and geological uh, impact, well, I'll just say that humans have on the planet, I do believe we have an effect on where the environment's going. I do believe also that you know the universe and Earth has been around for way, way longer than us. So there are also cycles that it's going through that, whether we were here or not, it would kind of go through those cycles.
that we don't even know about. It, we
Yeah,
can't
we
even
don't know,
perceive. We
like
don't have the tools to perceive over millions of
global
years.
warming, what is it, the electromagnetic poles shifting, and all these things we like. It's so many things that we haven't lived through. You know what I mean? And also not lived through with the technology to even be able to comprehend or even get a glimpse of what it even means. So maybe modeling the things we do know, from an ecological standpoint, and kind of seeing how those play out and how our effect as humans, may impact it. And it's a lot of complex problems, because it's if you just kind of look at it on surface level, you would think, oh, we're burning fossil fuels, we need to go electric. Okay, but where's all this energy going to come from? I mean, is it nuclear power? Is it solar? Is it at scale? What can we do to offset it? Who's building the infrastructure to plug in all these cars? Like you know what I mean? Like the actual.
And how are quantum computers, like, that's the question? How are quantum computers going to help us do all this work?
Well, yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of work.
I
And
kind
then
of.
what about AI? How does AI play in here?
Oh my
They
God.
drop it. He drop AI into the
Yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah. I think I kind of glazed over number two, but just to kind of condense it back, number two would just be the ecological kind of model, and then the third one would just be political. And I'm gonna get to AI, but the third one would just be like the well, when I say political, I'm not talking about like this party versus that party. I mean, like, we've grown from nomadic kind of existence, just trying to run away from the mountain lions and things like
The
that.
tigers too.
Yeah, yeah, tigers and bears. Yeah, and we settled for tribes, villages, and the whole. And so even when you look at big countries and nations, it's still kind of a tribal kind of nationalistic kind of view. But even those borders are breaking down. I mean, I don't want to say breaking down, but with technology, you can have a conversation with someone across the world, at any moment. You know what I mean? So those are kind of loosening and not becoming as important as the psychological kind of barriers that we kind of have as a society. So I guess just modeling, like, and I think that'd be hard to model. I don't know how I don't know how you would do it, but like all the inputs of, like, this country and their trajectory and this country's trajectory, and like if there's a conflict in this region of the world, or this part of the world is thriving but they're pulling resources from this part of the world, like modeling all of that and seeing
You,
if you change different inputs, how does that play out? And
you know, that. So there's a series called The Hyperion Cantos, sci-fi.
okay,
Some of the best books I've read in my life. I'm reading them right now.
put me
I'm
on.
on the
Put me on.
I'm on the fourth one. Yeah, yeah.
I'm ready.
Amazing, like
I'm ready.
crazy. So in the series, these so the AIs become all powerful and essentially independent, and they use humans as their neural networks. So
Mm.
they use humans to do all their computations.
Oh wow.
So they literally have access to the data sphere that gets created from the neural synapses of all the humans across all the galaxies everywhere.
Yeah.
So that is probably the data set that would give you the best political, like the most high fidelity model
Right.
of political simulation, and that's super hard to get.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying,
We're just
like
talking.
just throwing that out there, like it'd be hard to get that data, but it'd certainly be useful. And I think sort of figuring out ways for people to be more empathetic and less
Yeah.
closed-minded, and sort of simulating how
Yeah.
to spread ideas in a way that will create more empathy and create more understanding and create more tolerance and acceptance, and just do things better. Do things better, because a lot of problems in the world right now are stubbornness
Right.
and lack of tolerance and all that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
be interesting to see how, if you make that the goal of your quantum computer, and the modeling. But maybe it's not something you can predict. Maybe
Right.
humans can't
Yeah.
be modeled in that way, even with quantum computers.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is like maybe there are certain things that we just, with even the best inputs and intentions, we get close, or maybe like you said, some models just you just can't predict, because there's always going to be that. I think that's a part of just life and the universe too. Is there's an element of unpredictability. Like even like thinking of the concepts of survival and Darwinism. Sometimes it gets mistaken for just the strongest, only the strong survive, like thinking it's like brute strength, but it's actually the most adaptable.
And
So
the ones with the best relationships.
yeah, yeah, and some adaptations are anomalies. Like a species could be going one way, and none of them have a tail, and just one just have one little branch just happens to have a tail, and for whatever reason that the other species dies off, and the one with the tail that was the minority, they keep on living or something like
And listen to this.
that.
So, okay, so and just on a side note, and then I want to say something. So, spiders developed a relationship with frogs
Hmm.
in the Amazon rainforest, where the frogs protect the spider's eggs from a certain kind of fly.
Mm.
And that's just one example of how complex the relationships can get, and that there can be relationships that we don't even know about, we don't have data on. So,
Right. Yeah, we don't know what we don't know. Exactly.
and also to what you were just saying, there's a concept by Stephen Wolfram that is the notion of computational irreducibility,
Yeah.
which he says that in order, like he says that you can't predict what the universe is going to do without seeing what the universe is going to do.
Right. No,
So
absolutely.
it's so complex that you can never that you can't just get some laws of physics and say exactly what's going to happen.
And
You
who's to
need
say?
to.
No, I don't mean to cut you off. I just got excited, but
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, and who's to say that? I think about this too. Who's to say that our understanding of physics is not local to our side of our little piece of the universe that we know about? Like what if? Because if you think about it, even with the most powerful telescopes and astronomy equipment and all the that's not my field of expertise, but it's of high interest of me, so I look into it. But even with that, like just the concept of looking at things millions of light years away, you're looking into the past. Like this is not even happening in real time, and like just the like phrases like we know more about outer space than the oceans on our planet. It's a cool phrase to say, but it's just not true, because
Yeah, no,
while
for
we
sure.
probably don't look, there's a lot we don't know about our oceans, but they're here. We've at least explored some percentage of, we've touched it, to where, I mean, yeah, you've looked at radio waves and, and signifiers of other planets that may have oceans on. You know what I mean? These other planets have oceans, and some of these oceans are not even made out of water. They're made out of other elements, and so it's just so much
You're just looking at light.
unpredictable. Yeah, and going to switching over into like AI. I think it's a wild card that, man, it's going to be a very interesting time because I think as humans we're going to have to make a decision, and at some point I don't know how much we can control that decision, but I see that. So especially when let's just separate AI from quantum for the moment. So just looking at artificial intelligence or augmented intelligence, however you want to phrase it or look at it, it's just it's programmable uh, technological intelligence, based on inputs, models to make decisions, to make outcomes, but it kind of it starts developing its own neurological pathway of sorts and thinks of ways to solve problems and create outcomes on its own. Just and this is without quantum computing. This is kind of like what AI does to like do tasks. So like you could say you want to you want a artificial intelligence. You want to use it to grow potatoes and just maximize growing potatoes. So it
I
learn.
love potatoes. I
Yeah,
like
but
the idea.
what if it gets so good at growing potatoes, it destroys all other life on the planet, and like the whole planet is covered in potatoes because it just got so good. You know what I mean? Like, but you
Yeah.
couldn't predict like kind of like where it goes. So I know that's an extreme example, but
And I guess that's where quantum computing,
uh,
goes in too. I mean, that's you're simulating the molecules, right? I mean, you're simulating what's going to happen.
right,
So you do it more cost effectively, and that's where genes come in, and
yeah,
or like okay. So I don't know if you know about this, but there's a company that is creating biologically. They're creating biological structures that create like houses and other kinds of
yeah.
structures.
I know you're like a 3D printing kind of.
Yeah, but 3D printing, but you program a biological organism to do the 3D printing.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay.
And they're taking the building blocks of biology and essentially designing new life that can have different outputs.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
So it's like, it's not even AI, it's like natural intelligence.
Yeah,
But
make
obviously, you can use AI to guide that
sure.
whole process.
Yeah, I think too. Like what I was getting at with the decision point is so we have to decide as humans, you know, as we develop AI and then supercharge it with quantum, do we continue to do it for the sole benefit of humans, or do we, or maybe there's space for both of these missions, or do we truly commit to the advancement of the technology, even if because at some point it may not be to our interests. You know what I'm saying? Because if you get a because artificial intelligence is already amazing and making great strides, but I just think when you supercharge that with quantum and something that can solve things that would take years to solve, and it can solve that in seconds, it's gonna be a point to where I don't even know if that truly means that technology and computers will become conscious per se. There's argument that on a level it may already be. I don't know. I can't quantify that, but you know, even if it's not, if it's viable enough to where it can interact and make decisions and basically maybe live is not a correct word, but you know what I mean. Like if it can exist and make decisions, you have to start thinking of the ethics and rights of like if you have a just to make it simple, like a robot that can walk and has feelings, and I mean, at some point, you know what I mean. Like you're gonna have to decide, like, oh man, do they need their own? We talked about like political parties and stuff earlier. Like, is an AI political party or like you know what I mean? Like you have to start kind of considering these things. Um, and also when you look at evolution, I've wondered too. Like, is that the evolution to where universe kind of creates life, nature synthesizes what life is and creates another ultimately, to me, it would still be a life form, even if it's tech and made out of titanium or something. It's like it's still the elements of what's given to us in the universe. But is that where life creates life? Is that the next step? So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're already there. I think
Right there.
I think we're here already for sure.
Plot twist. I am the AI version of Chase. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, man. Yeah,
So
this is right up my alley. I feel like these conversations, I learn so much, but I'm also left with so many questions. Like it,
yeah,
at the end
yeah.
of it, you know?
You just go deeper and deeper, and
Yeah,
it's turtles all the way down, as they say.
that's it, man. So, yeah, like, what, what are your hopes for like with AI and quantum paired together? What are some things? Maybe your top, you hit me with top three things you hope we can achieve, or concerns, or just top three like main things to consider.
I think what I want to see is quantum computing modeled for nutrition
Hmm.
and AI helping us develop different models for people. AI just helping helping us better understand people's nutrition and maybe guiding the whole process. So right now we have LLMs. As you're the scientist developing your nutrition model, you're talking to your AI, and it's something that's more high fidelity than an LLM is.
Yep.
Um, Something that is actually being effective and taking you in the right direction. Something else, which is deeply interrelated, is using AI as a similar guide to help us develop quantum models for simulating different ways of agriculture. So there's something called permaculture where you essentially group different plants together,
Hmm.
and the nature of their relationships enable them to support each other, to keep
Mm,
each other free of bugs,
I love it. Yeah.
to to just support each other's survival and provide a more diverse palette to the organisms that are a part of the ecosystem, and end result, maybe produce some bananas for us, maybe produce some sage, produce some nuts,
Yeah.
whatever. So simulate these, let's call them permaculture mini environments,
Hmm.
in a way that enables us to better and more efficiently feed the whole world
Yeah.
in a more sustainable way, and in a way that is more in line with nature and less against it, using the principles of nature that already exist in the world to
Sure.
um, to improve things, and seeing how AI and quantum helps us do this, because we're already doing this, and we're already doing this effectively. So
Right.
how can AI help us do this? And that goes back to a question that I always have, or something I was reflecting on today was, okay, technology, data science,
Yeah.
AI,
Yeah.
quantum, like all these terms are cool,
Yeah.
but what are they useful for? Like, what are we doing with them?
Right. Right. Right.
What, what, how are we applying them? It's not useful or effective to just learn these concepts and do nothing with them.
Exactly.
What is it that you're trying to make? What are you trying to contribute to the world?
Yeah.
And I think I'll stick with those two, and I'll let you go for three.
Okay. I'll if I make it to three, we'll see.
Yeah,
So you I think it's spot on, man. I'm kind of just continuing, some things you said, but I know. So I'm going to kind of simplify my first point. Let's just assume we can use quantum and AI to solve the majority, if not all, of the human challenges. Hopefully we can use it positively to get to a point of I was about to say universal basic income, but just because there's really no need to exploit people for manual labor, but maybe an income's not even needed. Like we just have enough resources, it's abundant, it's a system
that'd be
that
awesome.
it creates everything we need with caution because just the traditional models we have in humanity, it's always a select few or like a minority that's retaining the lion's share of the wealth, from any kind of satisfaction of a need. So just hoping we can kind of get away from that to where you know um, there's enough and abundantly, not to where it's like we all have an equal amount, but we're all struggling. But like we're all abundant. We can live the lives we want to live in nature in the space we want to live just freely. I hope it doesn't stagnate our progression, as humans. So that would be one. Two would just be like I hope I do hope we can create some kind of what would the term be? Self-perpetuating energy source that's renewable, ongoing. It doesn't harm you. It's like a net neutral net zero kind of effect on the
Like
environment.
the sun, it's already there.
Yeah, we already have it. We're just not even with solar power, we're not as efficient as harnessing it. And again, when you go back to nature, it's like we're trying to solve things that nature, like plants already got it figured out. Like I always say, a tree is my favorite life form because it's like it can grow to be one of the largest, most successful, long living organisms on the planet. But to me, trees are so amazing because they live their whole life in one place. Roots, you grow, they adapt, they move, but I mean, they grow like redwood forest, like something. Those some of those trees are hundreds of years old, living in the same place through all the weather, lightning, storm. Like it's just it picks one place to live and just So like if we can model trees and be self sustaining and that and then there's the I no one can predict the future, but I think we all kind of at least have some inkling that fortunately, I hate. I mean, the sun probably not gonna last forever. What is it? It turns into a red giant or whatever it does, and at some point,
So far away though.
yeah,
It's,
billions of years. But hey, it's gonna come.
yeah.
So if and this will be my last point, if we're not able to use our technology to, I guess, as humans, and maybe we keep evolving and adapting and everything, but if we cannot use it to, as humans, literally travel the universe and survive that. Um, if there's some kind of transference of consciousness that we could, do into technology using quantum, I think that'd be cool. Um, I'm
You
kind
gotta
of
capture, gotta
what's that?
capture the soul.
I'm kind of torn on the idea of whether if you can do that, is it just that you're making a copy, or is it your literal soul that would be transferred?
That's
Maybe
a big question.
that's
Big
it.
question.
I know they tap on that like it's, you're probably familiar with Black Mirror and like some different shows. They kind of tap into some of those concepts, which I think is cool. My personal take is that it's a copy. Like I don't know if you would literally, it would be the copy would think it's just as much you as you, but is it really you that's in it? You know what I mean? Like that's the part that
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
worked out. But that's just what look. I don't have it worked out. I don't have it solved. I don't know. But what I'm getting at is that if it's not literally like humans flying all over the galaxy and surviving, and even then at some point the last star is going to burn out, we're going to go to absolute zero and maybe just collapses and it gets another big bang and we do it all over again. I don't know what happens, but if we could transfer into a technological form that doesn't need oxygen, it doesn't need certain gravitational limits, and it doesn't need the certain things that we need biologically, and we could continue to live. I think that'll be cool. But again, I guess there can be a dark side to that too, just like anything. So just making sure we're ethical and we do it in the right way. But yep, those are my thoughts, man.
Awesome. And hey, one last question. What advice would you give to young people starting
Mhm.
out their careers?
Yeah, I would say really take time to think what it is you want out of life, beyond just something like, hey, I want a lot of money. I mean, yeah, I mean, anybody, but like go a few steps beyond that. Like, so let's just say, yeah, you had all the money. What would you be doing, with the money? And I mean just beyond the luxuries, because I think sometimes people feel like they're so different well, I don't want to make general statements and kind of do that, but I'm just saying, like, it's like to live a life of leisure is relaxing, but it's not the whole aspiration. Like, is your passion to, like you said, like with something agricultural, or just some kind of impact on the world, or just, and if you could just dive into it and just, oh man, I could get lost in this subject matter. Learn about it, learn the business of it, learn, where the wealth flows around it, and that's where you want to point your efforts, because then you'll be interested in what you're studying, and the success and the success and the quote unquote success and money and the opportunities come from being valuable in that area that you're interested in. So it's like, you can finesse and do a hustle, and okay, yeah, you may get some quick money, but the long term wealth and also fulfillment in your own life, like you can go home and like you love what you do. Like, to me, a cornerstone of loving what you do, like when you're typical teenager, might sleep till noon on the weekends, but when you love what you do, and shout out to the teenagers. I'm about to raise one. I'm not, saying I was one, believe it. But no, I'm saying, like, when you love what you want to get up early. You're like, man, I'm so excited. I got to do this tomorrow. I'm waking up at 6. I'm getting, so when finding something that you love and just pouring into it, and you'll have that'll be the best lifestyle for you. And I'm telling you, the success, the wealth, all the other stuff, it'll come with it, and it'll almost be an afterthought. It'll be like, oh man, like, just keep going. You'll make amazing connections. You'll be, you'll be doing TED Talks. You'll be on top of the world. If you pour into doing something that you love, and just get educated on it, and then have the mentality that, hey, I'm gonna be a value add in what it is that I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Appreciate. I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate that advice.
Yeah. Easier said than done, but that's from a high level. That's it. Yep.
All right. Awesome. Well, Chase, thank you so much for joining me. It's been awesome. I was looking forward to this conversation for a long time. I'm really glad we did it.
Me too, man. I'll catch you.
See you.
Peace.